لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. This is As You Answer the Call. I am Rashida Abubakar, your regular anchor, welcoming you to another edition of the program. As part of procedures to protect lives during the Hajj exercise, the Saudi government introduced in 2015 a system of grouping pilgrims, otherwise known as the Hajj. It ensures that the movement of pilgrims from one place to another within the kingdom is done in an organized manner, particularly at Mina, Arafat and Muzdalifah. How does the system work and how is Nigeria keen into it? What are the new changes introduced as it relates to the 2024 Hajj exercise? Answers to these and other questions in our Spotlight segment. Also on the program, we have Making the Hajj and NAHCON News Diary, which highlights the activities of NAHCON and other stakeholders in the Hajj industry. And on the quiz, a winner has emerged. Details will be announced in the course of the program. Stay tuned for these and more. Don't go away.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The program kicks off with the News Diary. Do stay with us.
Appending signatures to these documents sealed the agreements between NAHCON and the approved airliners for the airlift of Nigerian pilgrims in the 2024 Hajj exercise. NAHCON Chairman Malan Jalal Ahmed Arabi signed on behalf of the Commission, while the representatives of the airliners signed for their respective companies.
So we should endeavor to play according to the book.
Speaking at the ceremony which took place at Hajj House, NAHCON Chairman described the airliners as key partners in Hajj administration, calling on them to respect all aviation rules.
Please let us prove our worth. Let us ensure that we meet all standards, because there are things that can't be taken for granted. Security and safety of the pilgrims is the priority. Not only for NAHCON, the humanity in you tells you that it is your own responsibility as well. So we should endeavor to play according to the books and ensure that we have a fantastic outing going forward.
The NAHCON boss further stated that
majority of the expectation is based on trust. We know there are many of you on the queue, but you excelled through an exercise that was meritorious and you earn it. But it doesn't stop at merely serving the pilgrims. I want to remind you that you have a name to protect. Whatever you do that is positive will outlive you. There had been challenges in the past where there were infractions here, there. Sometimes through commission, not mere omission. But I know with the way we started, we would have understood where we're coming from and will endeavor to make a difference.
Other stakeholders also spoke at the event.
As we move forward with the implementation of this agreement, I am confident that our collaboration with the airlines will result in a positive and impactful experience for our pilgrims.
To us who are critical stakeholders in this business of Hajj industry, we want to crave your intelligence that you open your doors to the states with which we are going to partner with. The city, for example, where I come from, we are going to be working closely with Airpeace. Last year, 2023, Airpeace was just new on the board. I think that was their first operation as far as Hajj is concerned. We had challenges. Of course, I wasn't surprised because they were newcomers.
The approved airliners are Max Air, Airpeace, and Fly NAS. The chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON, and Nasarawa State Governor, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, met in Abuja at the Hajj House to discuss ways to address challenges arising from the recent increase in the 2024 Hajj fares. In a chat with journalists, Governor Abdullahi Sule said he was at the Hajj House to intervene over the increase in the Hajj fare, particularly as it relates to pilgrims from Nasarawa State. Governor Sule said he is in contact with other governors on the steps to take. NAHCON Chairman Malan Jalal Ahmed Arabi said he is encouraged by the visit, noting that the counselling and support from the governor and his colleagues will help NAHCON to weather the storm. Among the governor's entourage was the Executive Secretary of Nasarawa State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Malan Ahmed Al-Makura. Meanwhile, state governors are making concerted efforts to mitigate the effect of the recent increase on Hajj fares on their respective pilgrims. In Bauchi State, Governor Bala Mohammed has approved the payment of 2.1 billion naira as subsidy for the state's 2024 intending pilgrims. Out of the amount, each of the 2,290 intending pilgrims that registered with the State Pilgrims Welfare Board will get a subsidy of 959,000 naira, covering 50% of the increment announced on the 2024 Hajj fare by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON. The approval was announced by the State Commissioner for Religious Affairs and Community Orientation, Alhaji Yakubu Hamza, in Bauchi. In Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubura has completed the 1.9 Hajj fare increment to all the 41 intending pilgrims sponsored by state. NAHCON Sole Administrator of Rivers State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Mr. Abdurazak Diprie, confirmed this in a phone interview. Mr. Abdurazak said the governor has also registered 6 additional intending pilgrims with 8.4 million naira, bringing the total of sponsored pilgrims from the state to 47. Also in Kano, Governor Kabir Appa has approved a subsidy of 500,000 naira for each of the nearly 3,000 intending pilgrims that registered with the State Pilgrims Welfare Board. And from Kebbi State, Governor Nasir Idris has earmarked 1 million naira for each of the over 3,000 prospective pilgrims from the state as subsidy in order to enable them pay the 1.9 million naira increment on the 2024 Hajj fare. The State Commissioner for Information and Culture, Yakubu Ahmed, disclosed this in Birnin Kebbi while briefing journalists of the outcome of an emergency State Executive Council meeting. Also in Jigawa State, Governor Umar Namadi has announced a 1 million naira subsidy for each intending pilgrim from the state. In other news, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON, has warned intending pilgrims for the 2024 Hajj not to entertain any request for extra payments of Hajj fare from anybody. A statement to this effect by the Commission's Head of Public Affairs, Hajiya Fatima Sanda Usara, says anybody seeking payment for extra Hajj fare aside the one announced earlier by NAHCON should be treated as a scammer. Hajiya Fatima disclosed that the Commission has not requested pilgrims to pay any additional administrative charges, stating that pilgrims should report any person making the request to security agencies and NAHCON. The information should be forwarded to this WhatsApp number 09071800007.
Alhamdulillah, you are still watching as you answer the call, a public enlightenment presentation that keeps you abreast of the activities of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria NAHCON and other Hajj-related matters. In facilitating the performance of Hajj for Nigerian pilgrims, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria NAHCON ensures compliance with policies introduced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the smooth administration of the Hajj. One such policy that NAHCON introduced is the tafwij, or the grouping of pilgrims. In our Spotlight segment, we shall provide details on what the tafwij is all about and how NAHCON is adopting the system for the benefit of Nigerian pilgrims. Keep watching.
لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك.
As part of the transformation of the Hajj exercise, the Saudi government has rolled out an integrated e-track electronic system to ensure that pilgrims from around the world perform the Hajj with ease. The system operates under the supervision of the Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. For external pilgrims, the system monitors their contracts on accommodation, transportation, and catering services throughout the Hajj period until they depart the kingdom. A key feature in the system is the policy of grouping the pilgrims known as tafwij to perform the Hajj with ease.
The tafwij, in English they call it pilgrims grouping, is a system of moving pilgrims in groups. As you all know, Hajj is an activity that has a lot of people attending and doing activities at the same time. Now, this has posed some challenges in the past, and part of what the Saudi government saw was to introduce a system that will make sure that people do their activities or their Hajj rites in an orderly manner.
Tafwij manages all the intercity movements of pilgrims, such as moving from Medina to Mecca, Mecca to Mina, Muna to Arafah, and many more. NAHCON chairman Malam Dalal Ahmed Arabi spoke about the pilgrims grouping system during the e-track training session organized by the Commission for ICT personnel from the states, the FCT, armed forces, as well as NAHCON zonal and outreach officials. The training took place at the conference hall of the Hajj House on Wednesday, the 7th of February, 2024. He said the grouping of pilgrims will be done while registering pilgrims on the e-track for the issuance of visas.
That again is informed by the new policy which is contained in the e-track, that of course certain numbers were created, is based on the numbering that the visas will be issued, is based on the numbering that every tent will be marked and identified based on the grouping and on the individuals.
For Adama, that has about 2,488. So what you notice is when some groups definitely, like if you do the division by 47, you notice there is going to be a decimal point. So that means that is going to be an incomplete group, but it's also going to be an additional group.
Now, the role of the registration agencies or the pilgrims office or the e-track officers in the training you mentioned are to make sure that groupings of pilgrims right from registration are done based on the number 47, the unit of 47 that was mentioned. And it should be done in such a way that people that are grouped in a particular unit are actually meant to move together. They might be families, they might be friends, they might be people who registered in the same vicinity.
Tafwij grouping is in 3 categories, with the smallest group having 47 pilgrims.
The tafwij is based on a system that people should not move alone. There should be an organized way of how they move. So the smallest unit of people moving is the unit, or the wahda they call it, and this is 47 pilgrims, and this number is equivalent to a number that will fit into a particular bus, especially for the purpose of traveling between Jeddah, Makkah, Medina, and then the Mashair. So there is that group. Then there is a higher level, which they call the Fauj or batch. Now this group consists of 188 pilgrims or 4 buses. So this is the second group. Then there is the last layer, which they call the majmu'ah, or the group, that contains 20 units, that is 20 buses, or 940 pilgrims.
However, Nigeria on its part has come up with plans to accommodate its pilgrims into different categories of the groupings.
For the purpose of Nigeria, we have introduced another category between the second and the third category. We call it the flights. Because for the purpose of Tafwij, Saudi Arabia restricts itself to the movement of pilgrims once they arrive. But we know that we leave Nigeria to Saudi Arabia in batches of flights. And then when we are coming back, we come back in batches of flights. So that fourth category is a category that was introduced by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria for the purpose of making the grouping more efficient.
Prior to pilgrims' departure to Saudi Arabia, the state pilgrims' welfare boards have this responsibility of grouping the pilgrims. Similarly, the grouping arrangement involves a drawing up a timetable and routes dedicated to countries, particularly during the pelting of Jamara.
The grouping has to move according to timetables and according to routes. What do I mean by timetables? If everybody is going to move at the same time, what happened in 2015 will happen again. Because what happened in 2015 was that a group of pilgrims were moving towards the Jamarat at about 8 a.m. in the morning. And at the same time, another group of pilgrims were coming back from the Jamarat on the same route. Now, these two crowds were not supposed to be there at the same time, and they were not supposed to be following those routes at the same time. That led to what happened in 2015. Now, to make sure that this doesn't happen, each country has a particular timetable it is supposed to follow. The pilgrims of that country are supposed to move to Jamarat during a period of time and then come back from Jamarat. When they move to Jamarat, there is a particular route that they are supposed to follow to the Jamarat. And when they reach the Jamarat, there's a particular floor that they are supposed to stone at.
Also underlying in the grouping management system is that pilgrims are not allowed to proceed to Jamarat from Muzdalifah. Rather, they should go back to their tents.
From Muzdalifah, all Nigerian pilgrims, all Nigerian officials are supposed to move back to their tents in Mina. Nobody is allowed to move from Muzdalifah straight to the Jamarat. When we do that, we are bringing ourselves to harm and then bringing others also to harm. So this point is very important that I mention it. After Muzdalifah, please, all pilgrims should please move back to their tents in Mina. It's from the tents in Mina that the movements to the Jamarats are going to be done in groups according to approved timetables.
Strict adherence to the Tafwij policy enhances the administration of the Hajj exercise, thus narrowing the chances of accidents that can lead to loss of lives, just as it happened in the 2015 stampede in which over 2,000 pilgrims died.
MashaAllah, the program is As You Answer the Call. Coming up next is Making the Hajj. Tonight, Dr. Imran Abdul Wahab continues the discussion on Ihram as a pillar of Hajj. Let's hear him.
لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك 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 اللهم لبيك.
Being in a state of Ihram is one of the pillars of Hajj and Umrah, without which the whole exercise becomes invalid. As pilgrims assume the state of Ihram at one of the designated mawaqit, they are expected to start chanting the talbiyah.
Immediately one gets out of the bedroom, put on Ihram and set to enter. In fact, from that point, so that is not a filthy place. You can start chanting until he enters bus, then you take him to Makkah. You will be chanting it until when you get to Kaaba, Allah Akbar, then you will now locate where we start is Hajj al-Aswad to start circumambulating the house of Allah 7 times.
Apart from the talbiyah, pilgrims are allowed to offer other supplications while in the state of Ihram. Such supplications can be offered while on the plains of Arafah, at Muna, or when performing the tawaf.
Tasbih. You can subhanallah bihamdi subhanallah azim, subhanallah walhamdulillah, Allahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. All sorts of prayer, especially from Hajj al-Aswad till when you reach the Rukn al-Yamani. By the time you are going to Aswad again, you are going to start Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. But another form of tasbih, takbirat, any form of glorification of Allah, they are allowed for somebody in state of Ihram.
The Ihram for Umrah is worn till the end of the rite, which can be for the entire day, while that of Hajj can be worn for 4 or 5 days. When pilgrims are in the state of Ihram, they are prohibited from using sand on their body or on the white garment, cutting their hair, nails, or anything on the skin, engage in vulgar talks or arguments, and hunting of animals.
Quran chapter 2, verse 197. Allah declares it. Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Al-Hajju ashhurun ma'lumatun. Wa man farada fina al-hajja wala rafatha wala fusuqa wala jidala fil hajj. Lay you are in state of Ihram, la rafatha. You are not going to discuss any love affairs. It is forbidden to discuss, even with your wife. You don't discuss it like that. 2, you don't engage in arguments. The second one is a fusuk, any bad thing, cursing, abusing, gossiping, rumor mongering, unnecessary talks. You're supposed to distance yourself from it. The la jidal, you don't argue.
The Islamic scholar says violating Ihram rules by pilgrims comes with penalties, such as fasting or slaughtering of animals. Among other lessons, the state of Ihram symbolizes equality of all humans, as well as humility.
Of the first importance of Ihram is for you to reoriginate the ether of your submission to the will of Allah. 2, it erases unnecessary racial or social discrimination. We are all equal. If care is not taken, by the time you are in Muna, you are all of you are in Ihram, unless you go to the front of the park before you recognize, because it will look like, which means it shows equality.
Imam Imran Abdul Wahab calls on intending pilgrims to broaden their knowledge on Hajj and Umrah, as well as general Islamic teachings.
Alhamdulillah, now it's time to know the winner of last week's quiz and the question for this week. Good luck.
لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك.
Welcome to the quiz segment. The question in the last episode was, name 2 things that makes women different from men while in the state of Ihram. The correct answer is, men are allowed to wear 2 pieces of white clothes. Women can wear their normal dress. Women cover their head. Men are not allowed to do so. The winner is Yushe Ujubri from Niger State. He provided the answer ahead of others. Yushe Ujubri will be contacted on how NAHCON will reach him with the prize he won. A quiz winner will get 25,000 Naira cash prize. This is part of NAHCON's effort in social investment in Nigeria. Now to the quiz for this week, and the question is, mention 3 things persons in the state of Ihram are not allowed to do. Again, mention 3 things persons in the state of Ihram are not allowed to do. Text your answer to the number showing on your screen. The winner will be the first person whose correct answer is received. All answers should carry the name and location of sender. Good luck and happy viewing. Once again, good luck to you. Up next are your messages.
Ahmed Sani sent in the first message. It reads, "Congratulations to the new constituted NAHCON board. Let the fear of Allah be your guide." Adamu Ahmed sent similar message. It says, "Masha Allah, congratulations to NAHCON."
This is where we draw the curtain on today's program. See you same time, same day next week with another edition of the program. But before we go, remember that you can send your messages, comments, observations, and questions through our mobile phone number and other social media platforms. Once again, thanks for watching. Ma'assalam.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا